everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Design Decode. This is our sixth episode, and today we have someone truly special with us, Rahul Bhaiya. Let me introduce you, Rahul Bhaiya. Rahul Bhaiya currently works as a product designer at Microsoft. Previously, he has also worked with teams in Zomato and Meesho. So, Bhaiya, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Glad to be here with a bunch of budding young designers. It's always good to chat.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear, what you guys are also working on right now. So yeah, it's been good.
yeah. Our audience will be mostly based on like college freshers and second years. So we are targeting that audience.
Got it.
So
Got
let's
it.
start with the very beginning of your story. Could you share a little bit about your journey of how you choose design as a career option and when and how did you expose to this field?
Got it. Yeah, I think so. In school, if I have to be very frank, I was not one of the best at studies. Like up to 10th grade, I think everybody's fine. But I
Hmm,
think 11th and 12th, physics and math is what got me. So yeah, so growing up, I grew up in Bangalore itself, mostly from the fifth grade. Before that, my family was moving a lot. So yeah, grew up till 10th grade, had interest in, I would say, art. I loved making stuff, creating stuff. When I was studying, Windows XP was there, right? So you just had access to uh, the internet. So I was just exploring the web all day, surfing and trying to create my own website, or my own YouTube channel. I was just out there creating stuff. So I have a lot of interest in creating, a lot of questions as to how the world worked.
hmm,
Um, but at 11th, 12th grade, I took science with computer science because that was largely my interest. But I sort of knew that engineering is not for me.
hmm,
And my dad saw a paper in the Times of India about the seed exam, which is the IIT exam and the NIT exam, right? So that's when he said, okay, you've been doing this. And my dad also works in IT, so he's like, this is a up and coming profession, why don't you give the exam? But it's too late for me to apply by then. But nonetheless, I sort of discovered what design is. And I said that, hey, this is something I've been doing, all my life. Whether it's, best out of waste competitions, small things in school, sort of added up. So yeah, that's when I sort of decided to give it a go at a design school in Bangalore.
hmm.
I'm sure you guys would have heard of Pesset University in Karnataka, mostly
Yeah.
known for engineering. So that's where I did my Bachelor of Design. I think that's where I
Hmm.
sort of started my design career. So yeah.
Okay, got it. So like there is one more question. Like I've seen most of the people misunderstood design. Like here at NIT Rourkela, most people think that design is all about making posters. Okay. So would you like to uncover
Hmm.
what design actually mean to you and what is actually like to be a designer?
Yeah, so design to me is, I would say, problem solving with empathy, right? I know even today, people in my close family or far off relatives, when they ask me what do I do, when I say I'm a designer, they think I'm a fashion designer or a graphic designer, right? These are the two things which come up. So yeah, design to me is problem solving with empathy. As I said, the role of, say, design is not only to make you feel things but also make it easier to use, right? So it's a blend of both things. It's where science and art meet together, right? In art there's science and science is art, right? And I think that is what design is. That's what design means to me. Right, so the role of a designer is to sort of get into the people's shoes, understand their emotional needs and try to solve their problems, right?
Hmm.
I think this is how I would sum it up, um, for maybe non-designers or people who are trying to understand what this means. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this is how I would sort of frame it.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Like I want to ask that now we see a lot of big companies hire designers, right? So my
Mhm.
question is like why do even companies need designers? Like what value does designer bring to the table?
Right. So I would say think about it like this. You need someone who takes care, or a person responsible who is one for the people, right? Someone who knows how they feel. Sorry, is there some disturbance? I'm not able to hear myself.
Uh, just a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think why companies need designers is because you need someone who understands what the people need, a
Hmm.
person who can step in their shoes, and then a great problem solver, right? And
Right.
someone who sort of has taste. Like for example, you need a really good chef at a restaurant, right? Not only who understands what people like, right? The taste of the flavor buds. See, design is subjective, so is food, right? So a
Hmm.
chef tries to ensure that he understands the need, right? And he plates it up and serves it in a way where it looks elegant, so you also feel like eating it, right?
Hmm.
So I think that's what a designer does. Your When you craft things in a certain way, people tend to sort of trust your product more, right?
Okay.
So what I mean by that is when things feel, so as humans we are sort of, it's in our subconscious to like things which look beautiful, right? When you're picking out an apple from the grocery store, you're going to take the nice big plumpy red juicy apple, right? Nobody likes the deformed apple, right? Nobody's going to go pick that. You like things which look nice, right? So designers have a sense of craft and attention to detail, and sort of have a feeling of how to make things look good as well, right? So that's
Hmm.
why companies now, the differentiator is not much these days, right? You can, I'm sure when you're hanging out with your friends and you're discussing, bhai kuch karte hain, startup karte hain, any idea you can think of is mostly taken in today's day and age, right? It takes a lot of thinking for you to think of new ideas, right, from the ground up. So what is the differentiator today? Differentiator are apps which have good branding, good design, right? Good, customer service, right? So all of these add up, right? So
Hmm.
which is why you'll see a demand for a lot of designers right now, because
Right.
designers have a sense of craft and the eye to detail. So a small bunch of things, right? In this whole AI world where
Hmm.
um, sort of the career lines are getting blurred, right? You have an AI which can write all your code for you, right? But for designing, yes, it can also create it, but a person who understands what looks good and what doesn't is someone who can sort of help you differentiate between two products. So I think
Hmm.
this is roughly the stance, or what design is right now in the
So
industry.
it is like more or less about how a product looks, or it's about the entire like experience of building a product from ground up uh, in a
Right, I
product-based
would put
company.
it both ways.
Hmm.
I would put it both ways, right? I can
Right.
give you maybe examples through a story, right?
Sure. Sure.
Now, when I was working at Meesho, they were building the cart page, right? So every e-commerce app has a cart page, right? Now, only a
Hmm.
designer would go and think, you know what, people are not going and basically checking out, right?
Hmm.
So a designer would say go to people and ask them, hey, why are you not checking out, right? You have added everything into your cart, and why are you so hesitant? So the answer we would get is the cart seems too complex or too much for me to digest, right? So these are tier 3, tier 4 city users, right? So in terms of sense of, in every other app it's just one single page, but
Hmm.
on the Meesho platform, after doing this research and after hearing from users, they broke it down into 4 easy steps, right? Step 1 would be your address, step 2 would be the items you selected, step 3 would be the price and breakdown, step 4 would be offers or whatever, right? So um, only a designer could sort of sense that, make it easy for them to use, right? And for
Right.
a tier 3, tier 4 city user, maybe have the buttons a bit bigger so they can see them clearly, right? So this is what I would say a designer's role would come in, where he can understand the people and then try to reflect that, as the experience, how it feels like. So this is just a rough example of what impact a designer could have,
Hmm.
in a product. So yeah.
Okay. Got the idea. So I want to ask that what is your personal growth as a designer look like? Like if you can take us through your journey of how did you land your first internship while at college and to the position you're in
Hmm.
right now.
Cool. Yeah. So I started. So every semester I would try to do some sort of gig. So I think at the end of first year I did some photography and branding. Just taking photos for a company for their events, creating the logo and stuff. That's where I started off. And then every year I would try to do some sort of um, internship. So I
Mhm.
think I did one at homelane.com. That was my first UX internship, maybe in my second year. So Homelane is
Right.
like an interior based company. So there I was sort of responsible for pitching ideas and stuff. And then I landed at Zomato. So I sort of applied for the intern role. Um, and yeah, so I got through there. So at Zomato it was pretty interesting because I joined as an intern,
Mhm.
and just during that time COVID hit, right? So but it was really fun. Like I got to work on how shaping food delivery during COVID, during the COVID time. So it was very different, right? So
Mhm.
I worked there for maybe a couple of years, 2 3 years. So where there I was in charge of designing the online delivery experiences for people. You guys might have seen, you know, during COVID, there was the Zomato rider with the cape, right? We used to call him Super Z. So that's something I got to work on. So now,
Okay.
if you see on any app, the rider
Mhm.
changes, right? So
Mhm.
that's something which we came up with, which was pretty fun. uh, Got to work on so there's a thing called Zomato Premier League where you could um, try to guess which team is going to win in the IPL, and if you got it correct you would get your full money back. So some fun things like that. I got to also work on the agent side where the customer agents who you're talking to, the platform for them, what platform do they use, making it easier for them. So that was my journey at Zomato, and then I moved to Meesho for, I would say, around a year, where I got to work on again the consumer app. So one of the stories which I talked about was that their live social shopping. So we got to create, a live feed, basically how streamers stream right today.
Right.
But then that built that for shopping, so that was fun. Got to work on ratings and stuff, which was cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, my current stint is at Microsoft, where I work on search and AI for enterprise platforms, right? So that's something which is really interesting right now for me. Getting to work on the latest and greatest. So yeah, that's definitely been my journey so far.
So in Microsoft, you're working on B2B products mostly, right?
Yeah, you could say it's largely B2B enterprise right now.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's what
before
I'm
that,
working
you
on
have worked
currently.
on consumer products, like which are B2C products. So how is the shift like moving from a B2C to B2B? Like how is the
So,
design in terms of design
hmm,
language or in terms of the execution in design? How is the shift?
hmm. So, I mean, mine is also not fully B2B. It is also B2C in a way where you're
Okay,
selling the software to businesses, but the end user
yeah,
is the customer itself, right?
yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
not too different, I would say. Nothing
Hmm.
changes in terms of your design process, problem solving. It's still largely the same, right? You try to add in delight where you can.
Yeah.
I think everything remains the same. I don't think that I've noticed a change in my workflow, or if I've done something differently. Right?
Hmm.
The the work culture, or maybe there are basically different pros and cons of working in a startup and sort of an MNC. That I would put it that way,
Hmm.
but nothing changes on the design side or design workflow.
Like, could you highlight a bit more on the what are the pros and cons about it in a startup versus
Right.
MNC?
So it's pretty generic. I mean, if you put it together, so in a startup there are obviously lesser people.
Hmm.
So at Zomato, you would sort of pitch your ideas to the CEO or
Okay.
design head, and you would ship within 2 weeks, right, from design to code, research, everything, right? Here, obviously, it's a bigger org. You have a lot more people to talk to, right? Multiple leaders. So here, I would say you would work on your storytelling skills, building a narrative. How do you convince, other stakeholders? I think there's some time spent here as well on that.
Right.
Um, yeah, so I think yeah, and it obviously takes a bit more time to push out things. I mean, it's not slow, I would say. You're still working at a high pace, but yeah, things just, because there are so many people, it just takes a bit of time, right? So yeah, I think this is how it's different.
Okay, cool. Got it. So, as you know, the times are changing significantly over the past few years. So, for someone who is in college, first or second years, and they do have some interest in designing, how should they know whether they should pursue design as a career or not? Like, how should I know ki if design is my cup of tea?
So I think with anything, if you're largely interested, in doing, I think that's what we should do it. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, I knew that I wasn't good at anything else, and I knew that this is something I enjoy doing. Like I would not complain about, right? So I used to stay with engineering boys in my hostel.
Mm-hmm.
They would have like this fat textbooks, and they would be reading it all night, and I would sort of be working on my sketching, right? Or trying to stand something, creating a
Right.
product, and they would look at me like, look at this crazy guy, like he's like, they would sleep and they would wake up, I would still be doing the same thing, right? So I think it's with anything in life. If you like it, if you feel like you can do this for a long time, I think that's when you should pursue whatever that is. All right. So I
Mm-hmm.
have a couple of things like that. Like I enjoy running. So running for me is not like, oh, should I have to get up in the morning and run? Like I enjoy it. I look forward to it. I think that's with anything, right? So if you're interested in doing that, and if you've relatively a decent career path where sort of aligns to your future vision of maybe
Right.
finances or whatever goals you have, right? And that's when you should
Mm.
pursue it. So all in all, I think that's how I picked this profession, um, and I think that that sort of largely scales to most of the other things in life as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, another thing is like, what is the roadmap you suggest for beginners who are completely new to this field and who want to start learning this UX design from scratch? Like, what is the roadmap for
Yeah,
2025 guy? Like, in the back, it
yeah.
is different for sure.
I think that every day is changing, so
Yeah.
I'm sort of no one to say anything, but there are there's tons of content outside now for you guys.
Like, if you would
Uh,
like to restart your journey, how would you do it? Like, in the times of AI and lots of information in the internet.
yeah, I think so. In today's day and age, I would just like to get put myself out there more. Something which I think I sort of helped me in my past as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I, in my maybe first second year, I was sort of very hesitant of putting my work out there or putting myself out there just because I'd judge maybe what people would say, what people would think about my work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all in all it helped me, like getting feedback from senior designers, pestering or annoying other people just to give me feedback, just pushing my work out there on every platform you can imagine, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, just trying to sort of make myself visible,
Mm-hmm.
and improving my work and just creating things. I
Mm-hmm.
think whether I was doing an internship every other semester or just if I had some time, just try to create or make something and then share it with the world. I
Yeah.
think that's something which I would share, because now creation is not too far of me just writing a prompt, right? So even in Microsoft, we're mostly using Figma Make to create our prototypes now. Like I don't think I've touched a Figma prototype tool in a while. So it's
Yeah.
all been doing by vibe coding, creating real prototypes. So I think just create more, try to sort of push your work out more, and then get feedback and try to improve. I think that's how it largely.
So if it has, where do they fit in your process?
Yeah, so we do use it across multiple workflows. So right from say getting the project, maybe when the PM is specing a draft of the problem statement, I'm sure they're using LLM models. Maybe it's Copilot or ChatGPTs where they're drafting the spec. So that's what you use. You use it maybe for ideating, giving ideas. Um, Researchers have a research agent which sort of scans through different files, sorts of create a document for you, or even sort of documents all the user studies you've done. I think that's one thing, and then post that. We use Figma Make for prototyping, so we use that heavily for creating realistic prototypes to share with our engineers, or maybe take it for user testing or user studies. So these are sort of the AI where AI is sort of come in our design workflow today.
That would be really so before it's like a Gemini 3 integration, it was really like a mess in the Figma make, but after Gemini 3 experimental version, it would be like a very seamless one.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, what do you think about the vibe coding?
Sorry.
Oh, it's about the vibe coding. So actually, I see a lot of posts coming from the Microsoft business. They're talking about the vibe coding, so how it's well integrated with their daily workflow, and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything it's a norm now. But I see that we will take questions at the end. So maybe let's get back to this towards
yeah,
the ending. Yeah.
okay.
No worries. Yeah, so design in general, they you screen based on your portfolio. So when I was reached out for intern at Zomato, they asked for my portfolio. So I'm sure there's a screening there, and then they gave me a sort of an assignment to do. So within a bunch of days, I did the assignment, sent it to them, and then there was like an interview, right? So I was an intern maybe, so they gave me a question like basically based on delivery, but not for Zomato. So something like that. So I'm not able to recollect. So it was like a 3 4 day assignment, not too much. Um, yeah. So that after posted assignment, there was an interview where they discussed my portfolio and my assignment, and that's when they gave me the role. I think Meesho was very straightforward. It was just one round for me because I knew the manager at the time, so just through networking. So it was hardly 1 or 2 rounds. So that's how Meesho was. In Microsoft, it's around 6 to 7 rounds. That's what's been my experience. Yeah. So there's a portfolio screening around. Then there are 2 3 people. I think Microsoft, Google, which wherever I've given, it's been like this. So there's like 2 3 portfolio rounds, and then you'll have a whiteboarding round. So a whiteboarding round again consists of they'll give you a challenge or an exercise on the spot. You can brainstorm with the interviewer, and then you could sort of come up with an idea. So that's one round, and then you have maybe with the leadership one round again, maybe based on your portfolio or just a regular round with them where they ask questions, and then you'll have maybe a culture fit round, and then HR if you want to count that. So yeah, roughly that's the process between the difference between these two places which I have been to. Yeah. Um, So I think it's just knowing your facts right for your portfolio. So don't try to make things up. The moment you try to make things up is when people start asking questions on that. So always stick to your script, right, and try to stay true to the facts. So even if they ask questions, if you're not sure, you could sort of be honest with that. I think. Uh, those rounds are tricky. Even whiteboarding rounds, say if you're not getting an idea at the moment, you're sort of panicking, right? That can be sort of tricky where you're not able to think of any ideas. You don't want to look dumb in front of the interviewer as well. So you're trying to act smart, but you're not getting anything. So I think it's just about thinking out loud. just being expressive. And sometimes maybe, not all companies are for all designers, not all designers fit in different companies, right? People have different working styles. So yeah, I think it's about just the pressure and able to handle questions, because that's about it. Because you don't have any sort of, they're not going to ask you to make a Figma on the fly, right? I mean, they'll sort of know, ask you if you know auto layout or how do you generally handle your Figma hygiene, but that's about it. It's more about how are you able to collaborate with multiple people, right? So they'll ask you maybe instances of, hey, when you worked with an engineer and the engineer said, I can't make this, what did you do to sort of resolve that? So they try to give you real life situations and see how you're able to handle it. And yeah, I think trying to stay calm under those questions and trying to answer them and being honest, I think that's the best way to tackle them. Yeah, I think now it's become like a certain template which is followed, because I think in the beginning, there are not many case studies out there, so a lot of people would just follow the same template, and that's what people wanted to look at. But I think now it's the same generic process and case study template that everybody uses. I think what people are looking for is storytelling and narrative. Like, if you're able to walk me through how you solved the problem, right? It's not more about the solution. It's more about, how did you arrive at the solution, right? What was the journey, right? And what method did you honestly use, right? It can't, like, not all problems where you sort of, not all people sort of use the same steps, right? Again, it's become like, in a math test when you're in school, right? Bhale you've written the right answer, but if you missed 2 3 steps, the teacher would still cut marks, right? So that's not the way it's supposed to be. Sometimes I don't use those methods, I use a different method, but this is why I believe that method works for this problem, right? So I think try to be true to what you actually use and try to frame a good story around it, right? How can you entice people to continue reading and convince them that, I this is the best possible solution I could have come up with, right? And then you could also add in sections where you've shown that you've tried to reflect, maybe, what could have been better, things like that. So it's, I would say it's like a movie, right? So in the first, you try to showcase your skills, where you try to show, that like how to create beautiful UI. It's like the murder scene, right? You first show who is murdered, and then you show basically how the murder happened, right, across the entire movie. So giving a good narrative and storytelling to your case studies, I think, is what might differentiate it today. Yeah. Right. So I think the best way to identify problems is by conducting research, right? So taking your product to real users and asking them to use it is when you will actually find problems occurring in the general flow of things, right? I can give you an example. We had made a rider screen for the Zomato riders, right? So we had made a gesture for them to sort of swipe and then complete the order, because maybe a single tap by so many times a mistake, it happens, right? So we had chosen a certain sort of green, right? It looked like it fit well, the contrast was fine. Then I went on a delivery with a Zomato rider, and we noticed that under the sunlight, you can't even see that green at all. It becomes like yellow, it blends with the white screen, right? So unless you go to the field and understand how real users use your product, you're not able to understand or differentiate. So that's why you generally get a lot of volume of problems from, you hear from a lot of people, right, depending on the product, right? So research is the best way to find out problems. Second is you yourself, right? There are a bunch of things which, as a designer, you can sense, right? Maybe it's not a problem, but could it be better, right? So whether it's by minimizing the information, just giving a very crude example, right? Maybe there's too much information on the screen. Can I make it easier for people to read? Is that something I could do? Hey, people are, I can't find this feature. Can I sort of put it outside, make it more visible? Right. So it's a bunch of things. So that's how in a workflow you sort of map the user flow, and then you try to pinpoint places where you can make it easier or better if there are actual problems. Right? So it's a bunch of things, mostly research and sort of your designer intuition to map out what these problems are. And then there are other sort of business goals which you'll get. So it's very tough to sort of handle all of these three and then sort of create a sort of experience, right? So that's generally where things come, right? Sometimes you'll get requests because another competitor is doing it, right? So you might have to build that feature in your own app, right? So this is how basically designers get sort of work items when they're working. It's either from users who actually complain. It's about being up to date, up to market. Can you create something new? Can you follow at least match competitors? And third would be business goals or things you could improve in the current workflow. Yeah, so I'd say maybe these three areas. Right. Hmm. Right. Correct. So even here at Microsoft, when we're sort of creating an assumption or a hypothesis, we work with our data scientist team to sort of track metrics, right? So this is where I think this is really helpful. Like I'll just give you an example. So if you've created like a banner, right? Are people engaging with it or not? So now that's something which is very tough to judge in a user interview format. So you rely on data, right? So you sort of create a data pipeline which helps you track all of this, right? So there are different metrics for maybe different consumers. So data is one way where you could sort of validate the hypothesis, right? Again, user research is another way where you talk to customers. So I think largely these two ways is how people sort of validate, right? There are a bunch of other things. I mean, terms of the tool, I've never used them. Like people use eye tracking tools. There's a tool called Hotjar where you can track maybe where the mouse has been, right? So we don't do that in Microsoft because of privacy and security concerns, but we do use some sort of data as to whether users are clicking there or not, trying to understand, what is the behavior. Yeah, correct. Hmm. Yeah. So I think largely for if you're an intern, I'm not sure if you would need like a data pipeline as such. There are a lot of apps today where you can sort of get users for you to test your product for free, right? So they're sort of given on some incentive. I think userstudy.com or something like that it's called, right? So you could, I mean, for your own project, you can just reach out to friends, family, or maybe go on the field as well, right? So I did this for one of my projects where we worked on a project for Banarkata Zoo, right? So we actually went back there and sort of did interviews with the people working there. Would they find this app useful? So it's mostly maybe in the field research studies which you guys could drive. I'm not sure how much data pipeline would help in a fresh case study project. Um, it might take a lot of time for you to build. I wouldn't say it's impossible. I think some of these tools do have access to sort of data pipeline connections where you can track maybe things on your website. But I'm not too sure on that. So yeah, yeah, this is a tough one because I myself am seeing the changes and it's pretty scary. It's also not scary. So up at the last month, we were like, "There's no way." that it's going to take over design, because the output is pretty bad, right? And you would sort of never get, even with image generation, you would never get it right most times. But since the last month, we've only been using Figma Make, like, because I already work on features which are not, say, 0 to 1. I would say that it for a few days I'm only on Make, just using my keyboard to type, and it's creating stuff for me, right? So yeah, I feel like roles will blend. Now maybe everybody might be product creators rather than designers, engineers, and that's where designers have a ledge, I feel, where because of the craft and taste what we talked about earlier, right? uh, a designer knows what looks good, what feels good, what should be the optimum experience, right? So even to control an AI, you do need one human at the other end, right? So everybody can create. It's about what to create, how do you create it. I think that's where designers have the leverage in the coming days, right? So where you sort of can create a craft something which is sort of different from the others, right? So something which is elegant and easy to use. So yeah, I think nobody can tell what will happen, but I think large and all, I think mostly everybody's going to become creators, and your craft is what will, or taste is what will set you apart from other people. Yeah. That I'm not using my cursor to draw anymore. Like, I liked drafting my files, creating stuff from scratch. But now that I can just type with my keyboard, and I argue that why even your keyboard, right? If the Figma Make guys decide to put a mic there, I'm just gonna start talking to my laptop. It just start creating. Like, it's like I'm Iron Man, right? So I think just to see that change is a bit scary, and it's happening so fast, right? So where 1 month you're like, okay, it's not gonna happen. It's something which AI can't do, and you, lo and behold, it's there, right? I'm sure even for most of your projects, you guys must be using AI all and all through. Whereas people maybe before us would complain that they have to go through so many books and pass through so much information to do their assignments, right? So yeah, I think that's just the way the world is, and we'll have to adapt um, to that. So it's also exciting, it's also scary, but I think it's mostly going to be fun, is what I can sense. Um, the most interesting thing is uh, you have a sort of seat at the table which is very unique, right? Because you're not coming from a technical perspective, but I think you are one of the only few people in the org who sort of relates with the user, and you're the one who is gifted this sense of craft which can sort of shape the product, right? So I think that's what is what makes it exciting to go to work. I know that the feeling of being responsible to craft such an experience for people to use, and so many people using it, I think is the biggest thrill which you can get, right? So I remember when I shipped my first thing at Zomato. And when I saw on Twitter that people were screenshotting and actually appreciating, like, hey, who was at Zomato? Who ordered this Super Z thing? I think that's super cool. Or, I really liked the how the app is looking during Durga Puja. There's some diyas and there's a pandal there, right? So I think making users comfortable and making their life easier, and knowing that you're sort of making it better for them in their day-to-day life, I think that's what makes it exciting, and that's what drives me. Yeah. Yeah, I think right now it's been hectic because of the whole AI scene here. I think what I hear from people is Microsoft is not how it generally functions. So I think it's I'll like a typical day at work looks like I like morning I'll head to the gym, get my workout done, and then get some caffeine in, and then it's work. Like you largely spend the first hour of your day getting through or sort of making tasks for the day, and then depending on the situation, right? So I personally like to have all my meetings in the first half because I can go meet people, have meetings done, and then keep the second half of my day to sort of sit and think and sort of design, so that I'm ready for the next day, right? So that's how I largely divide my day. So yeah, it gets pretty. So a designer's life cycle, I think, in every company is largely been the same because it goes in a sine wave. You are really busy few days because you're really, working on design, trying to hand it off to engineering, and then there's a small dip where you're waiting for the product team to kind of give you another problem to solve. So it always goes in a sine wave. I feel like that's what my experience has been. So yeah, I think this is how roughly day to day it is. Yeah, I think it's mostly the people. I love the people I work with, and I've been blessed where I've worked with really good people across all companies. So whether it's Zomato, I think it's mostly the people, what makes it enjoyable. So like here, I feel extremely lucky. I get to work with such talented people, learning something new every day. I think that's what also drives me to push myself. So yeah, I think it's the people which make the difference. So I mostly work on teams, so it's I think around 80-ish people all in all. But on search, yeah, there are a lot more. Like you can't count. This is just for enterprise, maybe teams and one, two, three more products. That's around that many people. But on search specifically, we have three, four designers. So that's about us. I think in Meesho it is around 20 people. In Zomato is around 12 to 15-ish people. This is how it was divided across, yeah, these companies. Sure. Yeah, I think all in all, when everything's finalized, so it depends. Like if you're starting a new project from scratch, it might be tough to make it on Figma Make directly. But since we already have a design system and I'm sort of making tweaks to existing flows, so it depends. Like if it's a small change, I'll do it directly on Figma Make sometimes. But generally, I'll sort of map it out on Figma and then prototype it. That's generally my workflow. Yeah. This this is a good one. So largely they could be related to the company, they could not be. For example, I won't name which company, but one example was maybe food delivery. Like you're creating a food delivery app for say people above 50. One company was you're designing the Delhi Metro app for older people, right? So here again, it's not about the final output, but they want to see how you think and how you arrive at a solution, right? So there are a couple of ways you can do this. You have to sort of judge the interviewer. Sometimes they're looking to just see how you can collaborate, right? So it's about just about thinking out loud. So whatever you're thinking, just you can sketch it out, and also just start narrating whatever you're thinking, right? And then you can sort of involve the interviewer if they want to participate, right? So it's about asking the right questions, right? So say they just give me the prompt of designing a metro app for older people, right? So I could ask, okay, for which city, where do they stay, um, what are the main problems people have today? Like, can you act as a researcher and give me, what are the user pain points? So then you list out, what are the user pain points are, and then you can sort of actively brainstorm with them. So you could say maybe older people I think it's very tough for them to use mobile apps. So I will sort of create it on WhatsApp, because they largely use WhatsApp. Old people know how to use WhatsApp. That's the only app from the apps they use. We'll make a plugin on WhatsApp, right? And then you can say, okay, UPI and everything might be complicated. What if we create something where they can send a link to their son or daughter to sort of fill in money as a wallet, right? So you can start just thinking out, brainstorming ideas, right? And then you could also sort of try to interact with them, see what they're saying. Sometimes they get involved, they like to give you ideas, opinions, right? So it's more about collaborating, sure you're collaborative, seeing if you're asking the right questions. I think that's what they judge you basically on that round. It's not actually final output, unless your final output is really bizarre. But yeah, it's mostly not like that. And you as a designer also then start thinking more clearly, right? And the solutions start making sense. So yeah, I think that's how it goes. Recruiting assignment I can't send, but yeah, I'll just put my portfolio in the chat. It's really old, so don't judge me. It's really bad, but I'll send you maybe a link of this website called. Oh, this was maybe right after Meesho, so it's been like 4 3 4 years. But there's a site called Wall of Portfolios. I'm adding that link as well. You guys can check out that has portfolios from all top companies here. So if you want a sense of what a good portfolio is, you can sort of skim through here. I mean, that would be helpful for you guys. Not sure I get the question. What are use cases will be there, but converting them into. Mhm. Yeah, for that, I think just even in general, building taste, whether it's reading design books, just looking at good design visually, using different apps, knowing what's going on in the world, right? So getting your eyes used to that, and then obviously learning. If you're making a mobile app, you should be aware of iOS and Android design guidelines, right? If you're designing for the web, you should know what an ideal font size for the web is, right? So it's about getting your eyes sort of familiar with the UI you see and use, and then learning the sort of, I would say, design aspect of the actual specifications on what happens on mobile, and then sort of trying to implement those. So I think that should help. I think it's fairly good if your work speaks for yourself. Although I do know in some job descriptions they do say that only designers who've graduated from design have a design degree. But for example, in Microsoft itself, there are a couple of people who don't have it. In Zomato, it was mostly people who didn't have it, right? So it depends. It depends on whether your work is good enough. Generally, when you go through a formal design degree, you have stronger foundations because that's what you've actually studied for 4 years. But then even what you study in college is not exactly what you use in the industry. So right. So whether you do design school or you don't, you need to have a good sense of both your design foundations and what the industry requires. Right. So both of these things. Yes. like luckily touchwood, I have been reached out for mostly all my gigs, so I haven't needed to apply or go through referrals. But yeah, you could always seek referrals from people working in the company. No harm in asking. Just ensure that you put in effort while asking. Like I see a lot of people just randomly ask me, on LinkedIn, like, can you please refer me? Maybe get my name wrong. So at least do when you're doing that, ensure that you're asking a referral with good intentions. So I think that's and you can always apply, right? So nowadays, I guess people like to work with people who they know. So if you're good friends with someone, no harm in asking for a referral, right? It's also cool for you guys to sort of attend maybe design events, just network with designers, make connections so that people know you, they see you, and then when you're sort of applying, they know they've heard of you and what you've done. It's always good to do that. So I know it's very uncomfortable getting yourself out there, but I think it's good to sort of interact with other people at networking events. Yeah, I think that's kind of important. Uh, I think if you can clearly tell me like all your information in a nice, clear way, right? Um, and ask nicely. I think that will do it for me itself. And ask it for maybe a way of maybe seeking feedback as well. Right. So sometimes if you're just asking like, hey, can you give me a referral? I think people generally don't have the time to respond as well. But if you're asking in the sense of feedback and you're okay in getting that constructive criticism, then the other person also likes putting the effort, right, and helping you out. So I think you can tell when intentions. I think other people can sense it, right? When you have good intentions and not. So I think if you reach out honestly, I'm sure people will try to help you whatever the way they can. Or it's not. Sometimes people are busy, and that's okay. Uh, yeah. Yeah, I think this is a good one. This is a really good one, and I'm glad, Chinesha, you didn't do it. Yeah, a lot of my friends as well, they did get these assignments where, yeah. So look, if it's largely based on say the company's work, so and if it's like extremely tight that you can tell this is not an existing feature in their company, what you can do is you can agree to maybe not share the Figma. You can just say, hey, I'll make a PDF or a presentation, but I'm not comfortable maybe sharing a Figma with you, right? And just see the response to that. If they're like no, then I think you could avoid it, right? Most companies today, they try to move away from assignments. I'm not saying they don't share assignments anymore, but if they do, these are a couple of ways to check it out if there's a red flag or not. One is it totally on the company? Yes. Is it on an existing feature or a new feature? Okay, that's another red flag. And if they're asking to share maybe the source file so that they can just reuse it as it is, then that's a big no, right? So yeah, that's a good one, Jinesh. I'm glad you lost that. Yeah. Okay. Um, Yeah, so for any question I get asked, first I try to get as much information as I can, like who am I solving it for, and then within that there are a bunch of questions. Right? What is their age? Where have they grown up? What do they do from day to day? How's their lifestyle? Just trying to understand the person using this first, and then I'll sort of ask questions on what the actual problem is. Right? For example, it's a cab booking application, right, for these users. What already exists in the app? What are the existing faults? What have people already said about it? So I'll try to gather as much information as I can. Once I have all the information, I'll sort of lay it off, and I'll try to pick up out themes, right? What are the main problem themes, right? For example, one is maybe people are finding it difficult to book an app, right? So I'll write booking process and I'll put that as one theme, and I'll sort of segregate them to themes. And based on that, I'll try to think of different ideas, right? So each problem I'll think about maybe multiple ideas, then I'll sort of ruminate or think about, which ideas can I solve now, what can my engineering, if there are timelines, and I'll maybe think about my engineering team as well, right? I can't expect them to sort of change everything in a day, right? So I'll sort of work with them as well, and then we'll pick out maybe a few solutions which we could see with scale. And while I'm doing that, I'll also look at I'll sit with my data metrics team to understand that, hey, these are my assumptions. How can we sort of validate them, right? And if I'm not convinced still, if something needs user testing, I'll sort of prototype it, go for testing as well, and then after that, sort of create a design spec to share out and then build. So that's roughly been my design process. I think it already has. It already has AI shaping every, not only this product designer roles, every role there is on this planet Earth. Uh, I might maybe become a chef soon. I hope maybe that also it could do maybe in the future. So I think one is getting familiar with AI and its capabilities on a day-to-day basis. Once you know what it is capable of, and then trying to learn and use it to its advantage, I think is extremely important, right? So how you ask AI questions, how you prompt, I think is extremely important, right? So there could be a bunch of two people. One person's getting the output, one person's not. It's most likely that that person doesn't know how to prompt, right? Because the capability is the same, right? It's not like my chat gpt is different from your chat gpt, right? So I think, yeah, it's about understanding how AI works, as well as knowing how to sort of prompt. I think these are the most important things which are going to come up. Yeah. Look, I think like, yeah, tool today's day, it is Figma. So if you're familiar with Figma, that's what most companies use. So you should get comfortable with that. But again, a designer should not be tied to a tool. Tool keeps on changing, right? So before my day, there was Photoshop. People used to make UI on Photoshop as well. Right before that, it was I mean, after that was XD, and then Figma. Right? So we're at Figma now, and hopefully Figma is there for a while, right? So my suggestion is use non Figma, but also try out other tools like maybe Framer is there, no code tool websites as well, right? So yeah, I think that's what you should look out for. Yeah, I do use After Effects. I've used a bit of Rive, but I've honestly not even got into it. But I've heard a lot of people are using Rive right now. Yeah, Rive, Figma, and then for image generation, you have your AI tools today. So I used to make GIFs and stuff on After Effects itself. Um, I used to find that I used to be comfortable with that. So yeah. Uh huh. It's cool. Awesome. I'll check it out. Yeah, I've heard. I actually feel the same about After Effects as well. So in After Effects, I only know like the same 7-8 commands, which is basically size, opacity, and once you know that, it's pretty easy. But I'll check out Rive. Thanks for recommending that. Very specific. I don't know if you can make animations today as well as. I don't think you can sort of you can generate. Yeah, I'm not sure if it does any video generation, right? So if you want basic 2D animation, maybe it could sort of do that for you. But I'm not sure if you want DaVinci-esque realistic videos. which advertising style. I'm not sure Figma is the place. There are, I think, other lot of video tools out there for you to use that for. What you could do is make your UI in Figma and then put it on a tool like DaVinci to sort of make an ad. That's something which you could do, I think. I don't have a message as such. Again, I just like to say that, yeah, I just gonna say what helped me was just being not being too shy to just share my work. I think that's the least any of us can do. It doesn't take any money or anything like that. So just try to put yourself out there, meet more people. If you're really interested in design, read, feed your eyes with good design. I think that's what will help. Being open to take constructive criticism and work on your craft, I think, is what I would recommend. So just try to get your hands dirty. Whether it's uh, you could also maybe take up fun projects, right? Maybe redesigning your uh, a menu for your local coffee shop, right? That's one of the things I did, just for fun, right? So just take up interesting projects, create things. I think that's what will help in the future. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure. Yeah, thanks. Bye.